We are live. Great, guys. I'm going to let everyone kind of get situated here for a second. I'm going to drop a Discord link into the chat, which will be where we're going to actually be conducting the conversations. Kind of one of the things we're trying to do here is build a community. And so through the series of workshops that we're going to start doing, Dill being the first of them, obviously super excited for this. We will be, funneling people into our Discord so we can just be connecting people in general. The whole concept of the Press Refresh Discord is to just like connect people in the industry with each other, people who want to work for content creators, people who want advice, people who want live workshops and might find something like this beneficial in the future. So that's what we're going to do. All right, Dill, how's your day going?
Pretty good. I got some work done earlier today, and now I'm here.
That's great.
Been looking forward to this for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
ever since you told me about it.
Yeah, dude, same. I'm so curious. So like you do this in your Discord as well from time to time. Before we get started, like just walk us through who you are, tell us about your community, and just like how you guys go about engaging with people in the thumbnail community.
Yeah, so I'm Dill. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm a thumbnail designer and strategist, and I've been doing this for 8 years now, like a very long time. Full time for about 4 years, and it all got started when I was about 13. I'm almost 22 now, in about a week. And then when I was 13, I had my own YouTube channel. I was doing silly gaming videos with my friends, and I eventually got someone to pay me for a thumbnail. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can make money from this. That's so sick. And I just stuck with it for a good while. I was doing gaming videos, gaming thumbnails. And then because of you, I got in contact with Preston, who is what he has. How many subscribers does he have? 30 million subscribers. And from there, that was my first like actual job in this industry. First like very credible channel that I've worked with, and from there the snowball just kept getting bigger and bigger because it was a very credible creator. And over the past 4 years, I've been able to do this full time and haven't had another job, haven't had a quote unquote real job. um, but yeah, I love it. As a kid, I was always a YouTube kid.
Yeah, dude, that's great. I remember, so I want to get into like the actual lore of this and how we met and like, you continued, we've worked for multiple different creators at this point together. I feel like it's actually been really cool to bring you along as I've moved through my career and been like, hey, obviously every creator needs a thumbnail designer. We got along so well from the get that I was just like, okay, there's no shot I'm not going to bring Dill with me, or at least like have intro him to the creators I'm working with to see if we can, keep creating magic. And so it's been really cool. Over the course of this live stream here, we are going to go over the how Dill and I kind of work together. There's also one thing I want to talk about, and I'm really curious about your thoughts on, which is how AI has been impacting the community in general. You're obviously somebody who talks about this on Twitter. You've made a big thread on Ideogram about this, and I'm just so curious about your thoughts. Obviously, it's something that everyone's talking about right now, and I think it's very interesting that you are kind of like hitting that conversation head on. So that's something I want to kind of dive into here. And then obviously at the end here, we're going to kind of roast some people's thumbnails who submitted over our Monday.com forum. Thank you guys, everybody who did submit your thumbnails. And if you're in this Discord, we want to hear from you as we're going over those. And then we're going to kind of round it off with a Q&A. If you guys do have any questions, drop them in the chat. Natalie or Nat, who is in the chat with us, she can kind of collect questions that we might want to have answered at the end of this live stream, and then we'll go from there. So awesome. I want to go. So we met at TBNR. Remind me how, because I was trying to think about this the other day. How did we actually get in contact? Did we put up a job post and you just responded to it, or tell me about that?
Yeah, so this was like a couple months after I graduated high school. And those couple months prior, I felt very lost. All my friends were going to college, and I was just like, I don't want to go to college. So, um, and the gaming side of things just wasn't paying enough. Like, there's just not too much money in that specific um niche on YouTube. So I was on a website called Hitmarker Jobs. It's specifically jobs for like the gaming industry and like esports, that kind of thing. Um, and I stumbled upon TBNR's job listing for a thumbnail artist, and I had no prior IRL work to show for, but I did have some faces in my thumbnails, and you guys really liked the coloring and stuff that I did on those faces, and I gave it a shot, and I did the trial for you guys, and yeah, one thing led to another.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so I want to talk about the color theory, because your lighting and color was great. I think for us it was something where we were just starting to see that that thumbnail style, and I imagine that Chucky over at Beast was hugely influential in that piece of it as well. But I was trying to pinpoint this the other day too, and I don't know if you, or maybe you've talked about this with your thumbnail friends. Do you guys know when this kind of new style of thumbnails started entering our world? And kind of a second point on that is, how long do you think it sticks around?
Ooh. Um, it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it started. The not simple answer, but the most straightforward answer, I guess, would be Mr. Beast, but he had to have gotten it from somewhere and et cetera, et cetera. But I would say it started about 5-ish years ago. Like, that's when people started really taking thumbnails seriously, and they realized that thumbnails mattered way more than they previously thought. It's everything to a video, especially to a successful video, just because if you don't get someone to click, it doesn't matter how good the video is, they're not going to watch it and there's no point of creating it. Um, so I would say about 5 years ago it started. And then how long do I think it's going to stick? I think thumbnails being important is going to stick forever.
Yep, agreed.
Um, this specific style, I think it's on a pendulum and it's going to swing between the more exaggerated, uh, ex- oversaturated colors and like big poppy effects and stuff like that, and swing back to the more realistic side of things with natural shadows and minimal edits and that kind of thing. Right now, I think it's kind of right at the middle ground. It was all the way up here for being at exaggerated and super Mr. Beastie, um, but it's been swinging back, and I think it's at the middle right now. So, but when it comes to realism, I think it really just comes down to the asset pictures that you take, setting up the designer for success. You want it to look as realistic as possible, and you're taking a picture indoors with super even lighting and no shadows on your face whatsoever. That's really gonna affect how the overall realism of the thumbnail looks versus if you were to go outside and take the picture yourself. Um, And then even things that aren't pictures of yourselves, just like anything that you can take a practical picture of with your camera, that's gonna be an asset in the background, like a car or whatever else it is. If you wanna be holding a phone in your hand, actually hold the phone in your hand. It's always gonna be more realistic than what we're gonna be able to create. But I will say realistic thumbnails are my favorite 100%. I think it's the hardest thing to do because a lot of creators don't really understand that we need to be set up for success in order to do that. But if we have a good relationship with the creator and they give us what we need to succeed, it'll turn out very well.
Yeah, that's great. Um, I love that. And that's very well said. Um, Out of all the things you've worked on, all the projects, all the creators, what are some of the ones that stand out as kind of like your proudest moments?
I wouldn't say there's a specific thing that stands out um, in terms of projects. I think the Eric one was really cool. Just going out there for a month, living in LA for a month. Um, that definitely is a standout. Um, Speaking at Vid Summit, hopefully that'll happen again today, this year on a bigger scale. Um, but I think I'm most proud of just the community I've built for myself, the just overall everything. Like I think little me would be absolutely like he wouldn't believe a thing if I were to tell myself I'd be in this position talking to these people, like being friends with these people, just because as a kid I was always just in this space. I wanted to be in this space. I had no idea how. Um, but half the people I work with today and have worked with in the past, I used to watch when I was 10.
Yeah,
And that's just it's crazy to think about how things have developed over time.
that's really awesome, dude. I love it. I love that you've been able to like evolve. I mean, even since, like you said, since you were 10 years old, you've been watching these people and now you get to work with them. I think that's just
No, probably
fantastic.
younger.
Yeah,
Probably younger.
that's great. Um, who do you want to work with at this point? Are there like people on your list you're like, dude, it'd be great to work with these creators of these companies?
Oh man. Um I think it'd be cool to work with someone that isn't as established, I think. Work with someone smaller, someone who's malleable and flexible and open to trying new things, and just video after video, one of tens, and click through rates through the roof, and just build their whole channel up to greatness. I think it would have been so cool to work super close with someone now looking at it like Eric before he started getting, super established, super popular, or obviously Mr. Beast, for example. If you were there in the very beginning, helping him through everything, um, and you just became their right hand mans to every project, and you just work together with things. I think that'd be one of the coolest things that I would want to actually do. And I'm sure I've helped a ton of creators actually do that, but I think someone smaller who has the drive and the passion for this, who wants to succeed and is willing to do anything, especially when it comes to thumbnails, we just go above and beyond.
I love that. I think it's so great too, thinking about smaller creators who obviously need the help of someone like you, or just thumbnail designers in general. It's such a, I don't know. It's like you kind of form a bond with somebody when they're creating your thumbnail and when you're working together with them, and you have this like a small creator. Everything matters, right? Every dollar matters. Every decision matters. Every relationship that you have matters because it takes up your time, right? Like as a creator who's just like used to doing everything on their own all the time, they're filming, they're ideating, they're filming, they're on camera, they have to think about packaging, they're usually editing. It's just so much. And then when they find somebody who can help edit their thumbnails, or let's just take a step back, somebody who can just jump in and help them because they're like, dude, I'm drowning all the time. I think it's really great that is one of the first bonds I think that starts between a creator and anybody outside of their world is their thumbnail artist. And there's so many people, obviously, on Twitter and your Discord, YT Jobs, like any number of places who are looking for work. But if you could give somebody one piece of advice who's getting into the thumbnail design world, what would that be in 2025?
I would tell them to just stay on top of things when it comes to strategies and design trends. Um, I would tell them to really put an emphasis on, obviously, you need to learn, you need to know what you're doing within Photoshop or the program of your choice. But I think the biggest thing would just be to take in as much information as you can, um, and just the way I started changing my designs and getting better and improving was I started dissecting other people's thumbnails that were better than me.
Who
I
who are some of those
started.
people?
I think back in the day it was like Turtle, who's Lucian now, um, TKG, and those are like the two names I can think of off the top of my head. But I would just look at their thumbnails and be like, how did he make the shadows like this? How did he make the coloring like this? What possible effects, just thinking in my head, could I do to replicate how this looks for my own thumbnail? Um, I think that's one of the biggest things. If you want to get into this space, just be open to everything and learn from everyone. And if you're gonna join this space completely new, um, join our communities, join our discords, join the Upright Discord, um, interact with other designers on Twitter, or the platform of your choosing. But I think in the beginning, there's you really need those core friends who you can sit in a call with at 3 a.m. and you guys are both working, or um, people who can tell you how to improve, or people that are slightly better than you. But you have to be open to that feedback.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea too of grabbing that community and growing with them. Creators do the same thing, right? When they're at a certain size, a lot of creators you'll see they find they keep saying bond, but they
Mm-hmm.
develop these bonds and they'll kind of grow together. Maybe they collaborate with each other, help with thought sharing and resources and all this stuff. And you can do the same thing as a thumbnail designer. All right, so the last thing I want to ask you before we jump to the next bit here is, so that's the bit of advice for thumbnail designers from your perspective, and without throwing shade or anything, what is a piece of advice you'd give to creators who are trying to work with thumbnail designers?
Take better pictures. Like really plan out the pictures and collaborate with your thumbnail designer before the pictures are even taken, to make sure you are taking the pictures in the style or in the framing or wearing the right clothing that's going to set them up for as much success as possible. I touched on this with the realism, but if you give me a crappy picture, I there's only so much I can do. Um, like you really, if you want your thumbnails to stand out and you want your designer to be able to go as far as possible, you need to spend that extra couple hours taking slash planning the pictures.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I totally agree, and it's so. I mean, it's like when you look at a thumbnail that's got great photos versus one that doesn't, you can tell that the thumbnail designer had to work, to get that to a certain place. And of course, that's the job. But obviously, we're trying to develop cheat codes here so we don't have to do that sort of stuff. So if you had an idea, like what does the ideal delivery look like for you? So obviously great pictures, but like if any creator was to watch this and they don't really maybe know how to work with the designer, how are they, like what do you want to see in terms of a document with links, source images, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think the biggest thing would just be talking to your designer before you actually take the pictures. For example, me and Tyler Blanchard have a great relationship, and we have worked on almost every thumbnail in the past maybe over a year that he's been making videos. Um, but every time he's ready for me to make a thumbnail, he calls me before and he's like, "Hey, I'm doing a video. This is the title, this is what we did, like came out so sick. What do you think we should do for a thumbnail? And then we just start collaborating, we start thinking, we start going back and forth on ideas until finally we come up with an idea that we're both happy with. And then the next step is, how do you want me to take these pictures? And so that takes a little bit of thinking, especially if it's something more unique. um but I think getting the framing down in your head or in a sketch first can really help a lot. um but yeah, I mean, just work with your designer beforehand.
Yeah, well said. Um,
And then, I mean, going back to taking great pictures, um I don't know if you remember, but back when we were working with Eric, when we were doing the um public dares for $10,000, we spent probably 2 hours taking asset pictures, and we had him actually lay down in the grass with the sun out, um, on a high quality camera. Like,
yeah,
we had everything planned out because we had the idea and the concept in our head beforehand.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so smart to do that. Obviously, when you have a creator who's down as well, and they're like, "Hey, I'll be out here as long as you need me to until we get the best assets." That's the perfect relationship, obviously. That's one example. I think somebody else too who maybe does like more in studio shoots. I think about Preston a lot, where they would film or they would take their assets just on a white cyc or a white seamless backdrop. And Preston's awesome because he's got, hundreds of different props and wardrobe and things like that. So if Dill was like, "Hey, I need a picture of you as a police officer holding a shovel," like he can turn that out in a second because he's already got that, and like he can just knock it out really quick and give Dill a very practical asset that looks good. And then Dill doesn't have to use generative fill to find, a police officer's uniform. It's already on Preston, which is pretty sick. So
And then even if you don't have that kind of wardrobe or access to things like that, even little things like wearing a blue shirt and holding a broom, like that'll make our job way easier than you probably think too.
yeah, that's great. Well, and speaking of generative fill and using different assets to turn into stuff, I want to talk about AI because that's something that everyone obviously is talking about. There are companies who are trying to figure out how to make. I think on one extreme, you've got people who are like, "No, I'm going to do everything from scratch. Everything's practical. I make my own assets, et cetera, et cetera." All the way up to a company like Spotter, for example, who is like, "We're going to make thumbnails automated, and you can just feed it a prompt, hit a button, and bam, you've got a thumbnail, or at least ideas for a thumbnail." And then I think there's probably a world where somebody lives in the middle of that. And maybe this is you, Dill, where it's like I would call you a craftsman. I think you're very good at what you do. You create obviously very high quality thumbnails. You care about the things that you're doing. You care about the job. You are a constant learner, and you're constantly educating yourself about how to get better, even though you've been doing this for a long time. And then AI comes into the picture, and it's kind of unavoidable at this point. So, I want to talk about the ideogram Twitter post that you had put up, and even, just kind of the TLDR on that, and then how you use it in your day to day, and how you think that thumbnail artists should be using it, or how they should be thinking about AI in their day to day process.
AI definitely came out of nowhere, but I would say I'm a good middle ground, like you said. Um, I use it for every single project. If I'm being honest, I use it for every single project, but I don't use it to the point of creating the whole thumbnail using AI. I use AI as a tool. Um, it helps speed up my workflow. It helps me pump out thumbnails quicker and more efficiently. Um, but I never am just hey, generate me a thumbnail of, me in a police uniform holding a shovel. um, it's a tool. It's a tool. And I think creators and designers, it's just going to keep evolving. It's going to keep getting better and better. But you're always going to need someone there to help you with it. You're always going to need a human to actually be improving what the generation gives you. Um, I don't I don't necessarily think we're going to get to the point where big mainstream creators are just plopping in AI images as their thumbnail. Who knows? But that's why you always got to stay on your toes. Always got to keep learning and evolving. And don't be one of the people that gets left behind with the technology, because like we said, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to keep getting better and better. And don't get left behind, because if you get left behind, you're not going to be as good. You're not going to be as efficient. You're just going to be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't think, yeah, I've seen some people who are very anti AI, and they're like, I won't use it, period. And I agree with you, because I don't think this is like, it's kind of like when the car was invented and people are riding horses. And they're like, nah, bro, I'm going to stick with the horse. Like, the horse it's been tried and true. I've had a horse for my whole life. And you're like, but have you seen this car? Like, it's really fast. Multiple people can sit in it. And they're like, nah, I'm going to keep using the horse, And then all of a sudden, cars are everywhere. And I know it's a weird comparison, but like, you get it. And I don't think that, like, I just think paying attention to it, like you said, and making sure that you're using it as a tool is at the very bare minimum what people should be doing right now. And if people get left behind, I think if they're not adapting to it or not using it as a tool or having it, a co-pilot or whatever you want to call it, if you're not using it in that way, at some point it's going to advance, and then you're going to be at least 1 or 2 steps behind at that point. And the further it advances, and it's going to advance exponentially, you're going to get exponentially left behind. And obviously, we don't want that to happen. But I totally agree with you. I think that in every instance, regardless of if somebody's using AI or not, humans are always going to be part of this process. We have a soul, It's like there's just like the sauce, There's like there's extra something that you got to put on it in order for it to become like the perfect thumbnail. So I think that's great. Go ahead.
Touching on ideogram, which you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
That's just a little sauce for anybody in here. I left behind Midjourney, left behind any other image generator, and I only use ideogram now. Ideogram is a website, so it's easier to access than something like Midjourney, which has a website, but most people use it through Discord. But the thing I love about ideogram is that it has a magic prompt feature, which you can put some simple prompt in, and the magic prompt will basically read your prompt and regenerate it to be more detailed and more sophisticated to what it thinks you actually want to see. And then it also has a remix feature, which I use a ton, because like you said, if I have someone in a specific, very specific pose, like they're holding 2 things like this, and I need to change their outfit, or I need to put something in their hands, I can upload the image that my client gave me, and then in the prompt, I can write what I want them to be holding or what I want the image of the person to be wearing. And then I can, when it generates me that, I can go into Photoshop and just mask out the face, put the actual YouTuber's face on it. And if I need to change their clothes, I can do that. Or if I need to have them with something in their hands, it'll generate that as well.
That's great. Well, I'm curious to know, like, why the jump? Like, when did you discover ideogram, and why the jump? And then at what point did you just go, all right, this is better than everything?
Did you put me on ideogram?
No, you put me on a ideogram, bro. No, we put Timo on ideogram.
What?
Yeah. It was me and you were in Discord chatting about it, and then you were like,
Yeah.
"Dude, you got to check out ideogram." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And you showed it to me. You just showed me the images that you were creating, and I was blown away because you're right. Like it didn't like Midjourney couldn't touch what I was seeing at the time, and this is I don't know what 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Yeah, and then Timo was in there, and we showed him that too, and like all of our minds were just blown. The amount of stuff we're able to kind of create, and you're right, like it can create. Oh, I'll say this too: you can create in different styles, right? Like you can do hyper realistic, you can do cartoon, you can do whatever. You just kind of give it the prompt, and it will make it happen. So if anybody's looking for certain styles, like I think ideogram is very capable of doing that, and obviously the other apps can as well, but this one, I think, to your point of having like the what do you call it? It's just yeah, the magic prompts. It's just like it's more intuitive. I think it's very user friendly. It's super powerful with that in mind. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what drew me towards ideogram. I don't remember specifically how I found out about it, um, but that's 100% what drew me towards ideogram. I honestly, when Midjourney first came out, or I first discovered Midjourney, I was using it all the time. But by the time I switched over to ideogram, I was barely touching Midjourney. Just because of it's not as easy to use. It's not as user friendly. It's very specific prompt based. You got to really get into the specifics of everything. You got to add commas to separate the whole thing. You got to do slash imagine, and then at the end you have to do like dash dash AR 16.9, and it's just too time consuming for the results that you get. Um, and so I found out about ideogram, and I go to the website, and it's as simple as it can be. It's just type in your prompt. You don't even need to be super specific with it. You can click a button to change the style, like you were saying. Click a button to change the aspect ratio. Um, and when you do generate the images, you have an upscale feature right there at the click of a button. You have a reference image feature right there at the click of a button. And it's just way easier. It takes way less time.
Yeah. Great. Well, shout out ideogram. I think, if it's that or anything else, somebody, thumbnail artists should be getting on these apps for sure, and using them as a tool for their process, like you mentioned. So, before we get into the last bit here, I just want to kind of remind everybody that we have the Discord link in the chat here. We are going to be doing these workshops every month. So I wanted to start with Dill. He and I are friends, so it made sense to kind of have a homie jump in here, talk about thumbnail theory and design, and just kind of how you can kind of break into the industry. Here's Dill's backstory. And as we move forward, I want to hear from the community. And if there's anything that you guys would find valuable for me to talk about or bring other guests into here, let me know. I've been doing this at this point I'm in my 15th year of working for creators in the creator world. And so I have a lot of connections. I'd like to bring people to the table to offer a lot of value to the community as we're building this thing out. And so, yeah, the goal is to do monthly workshops essentially, to the point where, we're going to do a roast here right now with the thumbnails, but I think there might be a point where we start doing workshops and kind of breaking down creators' operations and their businesses and helping them solve problems live on stream, which I think would be pretty cool. If you guys think so, let me know. And if there's anything you would find valuable, let me know that as well. But this is going to be the place where we're going to be building the community, obviously here in our Discord, and then we'll be streaming the chat live during these workshops. So if you guys want to participate, click the link and join the Discord. So, all right. Last thing we're going to do here, we're going to roast some thumbnails. So I'm curious before we do this, because I've never done this with you before. And I know that you've done this. You've been on the not the Discord stage, the Vid Summit stage, roasting people. Tell me how it goes normally, because I have what I think is going to happen, but I want to know how you would go about it.
I mean, we can just pull up the thumbnails and start dissecting it.
All right, cool. All right, so I have a slideshow built out. We have everybody who submitted the thumbnails through our Monday.com form. I'm going to pull this up here. All right, cool. So I'm going to go through this, and we have, let's see here. We have 13 submissions. And so I'll go through and kind of give the names of the people who submitted, and then we'll just pull the thumbnail on screen. I've never done this before, obviously, so I'm gonna lean on Dill a little bit, but I have obviously seen and worked on hundreds, thousands of thumbnails at this point in my life, so I'll have something to add, I'm sure. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about here is from Snoozy. And this one, the title of the thumbnail is How to Genuinely Stop Giving a F. All right, so let's pull this up. All right. So, I don't care. Big, bold on screen, kind of cartoony, like comic book vibe, and a dude. A dude getting shot in the face. Just very straightforward. And he does not look like he gives an F about that bullet. Knee-jerk reactions.
I assume this was done using AI. I don't want to say 100%, but I assume it is. Immediate reactions. I feel like the title just doesn't fit with what I'm seeing. This title to me feels like it's going to be a motivational video of sorts. Just a very stoic kind of video. And to me, this thumbnail doesn't represent that very well. I think no matter who it is, if you have a gun to your face, you're gonna care.
Yeah.
I think it just could have used a little more thought.
Yeah. I think
the concept as a whole could have used more thought.
Yeah, I get the idea for sure of like this is a guy who like clearly does not care. He's got a gun pointed at him. I think the fact that it's firing is interesting because it's like, well, this guy's going to die. So like he must not care about anything. I think maybe a different approach to this one would be if everything around you was burning down and like you're just not affected by it. Because like you said, if somebody's pointing a gun in your face, you are directly impacted by that. Like I wouldn't see that as not caring. I would see that as somebody who's like in a dangerous situation. But I think about and I don't know if anybody's seen this movie. There's a movie called Garden State. Zach Braff's in it. And then there's a point where he's actually in an airplane that's crashing and he's having this dream. He's got his headphones in and he's just listening to the music and everybody's flying out of this plane. The plane's being ripped apart and he just has like this smile on his face. Like he just does not care. And I think if you can articulate that in the thumbnail, might be pretty cool. Or if somebody's walking down the street and there's like, I don't know, explosions behind them or a car crash or something where they're just kind of like unfazed by it. Maybe they are listening to music. That might be an interesting approach too. But I agree with you. I think the title suggested it would be something like, obviously Mark Manson wrote the book, The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So it does seem like it would be in the more motivational category. And this thumbnail doesn't quite convey that.
I think.
Go ahead.
I gotta pull it up again. I just lost it. There we go. Yeah, I think if we're assuming that this thumbnail is for a more motivational video, I think something more isolating, something more, maybe person in the middle and just darkness around him, and people are saying things to him. Or there's maybe text messages that are insulting or whatever it is. I think just main point for this thumbnail is to just ideate some more. Maybe go back to the drawing board and give it another 3 shots until you find something that really sticks. And just know your audience, really learn who your audience is and who the video is for, because once you do that, if this is a motivational video, um then you can just see how this kind of thumbnail just doesn't really work for the type of audience that you want to attract.
Yeah,
um if I did see this on YouTube without the title, I would think this was some sort of cartoon animation, like TV show kind of thing.
yeah. I agree with all those points. I think too the color theory, it's a very dark thumbnail. And so if it is motivational, like Dill's talking about, and you're supposed to be more uplifting, I think the color palette should be maybe a little brighter. Dill, I don't know if you agree with that, but this seems like pretty doom and gloom to me. Almost like this person is just not like they're having a they're having a rough life, right now. But maybe if there's some sort of like light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, or there's some brightness in the thumbnail to indicate that like by not caring, you can live a better life, or you can have less noise pollution in your head or something like that. I think adding that brightness might be helpful. Also, like pulling the audience's eye.
Yeah, I mean, I think the darkness helps with setting the mood,
Sure.
setting the tone of what this person's going through and how the audience can relate to this person. But at the same time, um, for just this concept specifically, I would agree with you. Um, one thing that I also just noted, it doesn't make sense necessarily that he has a ski mask on, but he's the one getting the gun pulled on him.
That's true. Maybe the person who doesn't give an F is the one pulling the trigger. He doesn't care about anybody. He's just out here shooting people. I don't know. Well, hopefully that was helpful. Appreciate you submitting this thumbnail. Let's move on to the next one. So this one is from a name that I can't pronounce, but the channel is Zalmi Plays on YouTube. And we'll go to... So this is surviving 24 hours in the world's loneliest lighthouse. Knee-jerk thoughts.
It's a great thumbnail, honestly. It artistically very clean. The colors are great. The surviving 24 hours of the world's loneliest lighthouse.
That's the thing I'm getting hung up on too, because like he's not in it yet. So I understand. Like to me, this almost looks like a video where he's about to break into something, not survive. Like I guess surviving 24 hours, sure, but he's not in it yet. So I don't know if he's like if it's a challenge.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
Also, I'm just gonna say this really quick. I know this is a thumbnail, and I know that you need like elements in the thumbnail to create an environment, but it looks pretty dang close to the like the land on the horizon. And if it is truly the loneliest lighthouse, would it be that close to land? I don't know. Maybe it's like in the middle of no, I don't know. Like, is there a way to show it so it's like a complete isolation?
It should have just been the ocean just goes off to the horizon. That's it.
Maybe.
It's a great point.
Yeah, maybe.
Another thing I'll note, if we're sticking with this thumbnail, I would have made his shirt black or a dark gray.
Why is that?
The red is contrasting with the orange lifeboat a little too hard. I understand the red and predominantly blue makes a good contrast, but I think if that's clashing with the orange lifeboat, then I think your best option would be to make the shirt black or a dark gray, because the thumbnail itself is so bright and so many light bright colors that having the black shirt is still going to give you that contrast that you wanted to see because you made the shirt red and the rest of the background's blue. um there's two different ways you can give contrast. It's either light and dark or contrasting colors.
Yeah, great.
So I think the black shirt would have been the best option here as well. And maybe adding some rips to the shirt. Like he went through a lot to get there.
Hmm.
Um, but your point, 100% agree. Get rid of the mountains in the background, and I think the thumbnail would make more sense like that. Um, but if we're gonna change the concept as a whole, which I think would be slightly beneficial. Um, it's definitely a great thumbnail, but I would have liked to see maybe A/B test of maybe just a drone shot super far out, the lighthouse being the only thing in the middle of the frame, and the typical like me arrow at the top of the lighthouse, or what's some more framing we could do? Another composition.
I'm trying to think of those thumbnails back in like 20 like 2020, 2021, where it's somebody being on a life raft and they're just in the middle. It's like surviving the Bermuda Triangle or whatever. And they're just kind of by themselves. If there's a way to, I don't know, we did one with Preston where he was in a life raft in the middle of the water surrounded by sharks. I'm not sure if that was yours.
Yeah, that was like one of the first I did for you
Oh,
guys. The
really?
Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did the Bermuda Triangle in a Minecraft boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe that was the one. Anyway, I remember that one being like pretty interesting in just the like if you're talking about the concept, it just felt isolating, like he had been out there for so long. And it's like this kid doesn't quite feel like, I mean, he's not there yet. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't survived the 24 hours yet. And maybe that's the angle to take. But I like the idea of having like the drone shot kind of looking down at him to create more space and depth.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, sick. Let's move on to the next one. This one is this guy submitted two. Will Workman. And so the first one is simplify your EDC top everyday carry gear for 2025. I believe this is a gun thumb.
EDC. Everyday carry?
Must be. I'm a bit of a gun noob myself.
Okay. I assume that's what it is. If that is what it is, I don't like that title, but we're not talking about titles.
Yeah.
Okay, initial thoughts. I think
I want him on a background.
once again, going back to just your idea as a whole, making something that can still be simple. I assume your Photoshop knowledge isn't very extensive, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can still make a great thumbnail with minimal edits. I think here you're trying too hard. You have, I assume yourself or the creator, cut out with the white glow. The white glow feels very noob, very very beginner. And then you have the bold, big red text with the white outlines and the white arrow, or the red arrow. I think everything's just a little messy. You were probably going for a more clean, simple look, but with all the clashing colors and the glows and the arrow and the blur and stuff, it all just blends together and meshes together to create something that isn't very cohesive.
Yeah.
I think maybe a better way to go about this would just be a picture of a close-up picture of you holding the gun by the holster, and it's just a picture of your hip, with your hands on the gun and just it looking like a simple rig. You can add the text on there if there's room for it. I don't think you need to force it on. Um, but also simplify your text as well. Simple concealed carry is pretty jumbled, pretty long. I think maybe just having text that says simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Or like carry anywhere.
Yeah, you don't. The biggest mistake that I see a lot of beginner designers and creators doing is re-saying their title in the thumbnail.
Hmm.
Your thumbnail is supposed to serve as support for your title, or vice versa. Um, and here you're kind of reiterating the title in the thumbnail, which doesn't add any support, doesn't add um, any help to the overall video.
Yeah, cool. Totally agree. All right, let's see what else Will's got. The next one is pocket carry gone wrong. Gun fires on camera. This dude, I don't know if this dude really blasted himself, but in the thumbnail, he is appeared to be shooting his own leg while on a podcast or a live stream. Um, I'm laughing because I just think it's insane if that actually really happened. Yeah, thoughts on this one? I mean, I think everything you just mentioned about the text on screen for the other one on the thumbnail, kind of the same note here, same arrow. There's these thumbnails look a little outdated. To Dill's point on the other one with the outer glow, like that's a very like 20.
I can't hear you.
Oh no, am I off again?
Wait, I can hear you now.
Check. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I think the outer glow, those sorts of things are like older, like 2016, 2017 YouTube techniques. I see some people still using them, but they're definitely a little outdated. I don't know how to make this one better because you're using a screenshot. And so you basically have this guy's like fairly messy podcast setup. So my eye doesn't know where to look right away. I see like the text is the thing that draws me in immediately. It's not particularly clear to me what's happening with the gun at first. Obviously, you can't really see a gun. It's just the pocket. So it is a little bit visually confusing, I think.
Yeah, I think overall, like you said, there's not too much to work with here. But I think the biggest pointers that I could give would be to simplify the text and don't use the red and white text. Just because it clashes way too much with the bright background and the pink in the background. If you squint your eyes, it kind of just all gets lost. I think the best thing to do with this is to possibly try and gen fill out all the mess. Get rid of all that mess, simplify the text, and the biggest thing that I would say is drop the arrow and drop the blast from the gun. Because if I see a guy freaking out like how he is right now, and then you're trying to convince me that he shot himself with a gun, and I see that very fake, very unrealistic looking burst of flame just appearing out of nowhere, I'm not convinced, and I'm not going to click on the video. I feel like you're trying to clickbait me. Really get rid of the arrow and get rid of the burst from the quote unquote gun, and your thumbnail is going to be a lot more convincing. I
Yeah.
would also try and upscale the image
Mm.
if you have access to an upscaler.
Yeah, it's a little expensive for like a bigger or like a, what do you call it, like an enterprise account, but Topaz is something that people use pretty regularly. We actually use Topaz for one of our clients, and it works out really well. We've upscaled things from like 240p to 4K, and like, surprisingly work like the work that it does. It surprised us. We were very surprised. It was like
Yeah.
shocking. Some of it, the text doesn't really work if the image is too blown out, but everything else like really brought these images to life. So
Yeah.
anything
The
else
biggest
you,
thing is the faces.
yeah,
Um, there's also free alternatives to. I'm sure there's a bunch of free upscalers, image upscalers. Um, there's one called Upscale, but it's with like a Y instead of. It's with a Y instead of the like LE or something like that.
hmm.
But I'm sure you can find it if you look for it.
Cool. All right, next one we got is from Floyd Kagari, and this one is surviving at the top of K Gale Hill. And all right, so dude looks to have a map about to scale a hill, and there looks like there's something at the top of it. Very practical. This looks to be probably just two photos, I would assume. Dill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Um, how can we make it better?
Yeah, so you went the realistic route that I was talking about earlier. It looks like you actually took this picture outside, which I applaud you for. Um, but now I think there's a mess in mostly the background image you used and the text that you used. Um, you have two separate pieces of text. One of them says top with an arrow pointing at the top of the hill, and the other one says 3 hours or hour number 3. Those two pieces of text are really clashing, and I don't know where I'm supposed to look. I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at the top or if I'm supposed to immediately look at the 3 hours. So I would drop one of those sets of text,
Yeah.
and then to go along with your title, surviving at the top of the hill or mountain. Um, you're not at the top. So I don't know. I don't know if this video is about the journey to the top or if you're actually surviving at the top of the mountain. I think if you're surviving at the top of the mountain, the best thumbnail that I think you could do is maybe laying down and you're laying your head on a makeshift pillow or a rock or something, and it's maybe this much of your actual face and body in the frame, and then the background is just a massive like valley of just open land and showing the scale that you're at the top of the mountain. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about this, like surviving the top. If you had like a top down shot, so you're to point of like laying down, if you were in one of those beds that's attached to the side of the mountain. So in the like imagine the bottom third of the thumbnail is like a mountain, and then the middle third is you sleeping, and then the top third is you see how far down it is. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that could be a little clickbaity though if that's not
Yeah, that's
actually
true.
what it is.
Yeah, it's very clickbaity. But that would be at the top. Don't listen to me.
Yeah. I think just showing you got to think about what's going to make someone intrigued in this thumbnail. Um to me in this thumbnail right now you're not showing me the scale of anything. I have nothing to compare this mountain to scale wise, so I don't know how tall it is. And the mountain itself to me at least is not a recognizable name. It's not like you're saying Mount Everest. I
Mm.
think everyone knows that that's super tall and the tallest mountain in the world. But to me, in this thumbnail, I don't have anything for reference to scale, uh, to just know how tall the mountain is. I don't know if that's the supposed to be the intriguing part, or if at the top of the mountain there's mountain lions and all this crazy stuff that you could potentially get injured or you're risking your life for. So I think just choosing whatever the most interesting part of this thumbnail is, and or what the most interesting part of this video is, and what makes it so intriguing, and choosing to focus on that.
Cool. All right. Next up from Yasir. This one is, if you're ambitious but distracted, watch this. All right. He's got a little adult website peeking through there, bro. So okay, so if you're ambitious but distracted, so there's 999 plus notifications on this guy's face. Assuming that it looks like he's one of the apps. You've got Instagram, you've got a pornographic website, and then this guy. I'm curious. I gotta say that in terms of like curiosity gap, like I'm like, okay. But it doesn't show me ambition. In fact, it shows me that this guy likes to scroll on Instagram. He doesn't check his notifications and some other stuff. So, yeah, I don't know if ambitious is coming through here.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Distracted for sure.
Yeah, off the top of my head right now, I can't think of how to make that ambition side of this thumbnail come across more. But I know for a fact that there are hundreds of videos, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube just like this that you could gather a ton of inspiration from. But in terms of technical skill and actual execution of this thumbnail, I dig it. I think overall it's put together really well. I think just the one super nitpicky thing that I have with this thumbnail is that the Instagram icon and the other icon, they should be flat, just like his middle icon, instead of skewed out to look like it's 3D. In most cases, that's a good idea just to add a little bit of more depth and dimension to the thumbnails. But in this case, where there's no shadows and there's no highlights, it doesn't work, and it's honestly just a little distracting and a little confusing from a compositional standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. I gotta agree. That would stop me from scrolling though. Like I would definitely, that would catch my attention, you know?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think overall you did a great job. The concept I've seen before. I know where you got this idea from, which nothing wrong with that. If it's a proven concept and it works for your video, why not? But you can change some things, make it your own. Don't just steal. You got to steal like an artist. But yeah, I think if we really want to be nitpicky about it, we could go back to the drawing board and try and focus on more ambition rather than being distracted, or a mix of both, at least.
Cool.
Some sort of comparison, maybe, like before and after.
Yeah.
One side you're laying in bed scrolling, the next side you're at your desk getting a bunch of work done.
Totally agree. Love it. Okay, cool. This next one, I don't have titles for. This guy also submitted two. So let's check them out and see if we can give any sort of feedback without the title.
Oh, man. I forgot who this is. I know who made this.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I have the name. It's Okami?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. If you want, give your initial thoughts. I'm gonna try and find his tweet about this.
Yeah, I think my initial thoughts are this guy. I can tell that this guy is like pissed off about probably his phone. I would assume that just based on this thumbnail, he like being connected all the time is getting to him. I think the scream is the thing that is presumably breaking the phone, but like he's just kind of fed up at this point, would be my guess. Um, I like the fact that it's he did something different with the guy sitting kind of cross-legged looking up. I think that like catches my eye a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's just kind of a white background, it's almost like unboxing therapy vibes, with just how muted the black and gray tones are. Um, I think it looks pretty clean. I don't have any like crazy thoughts about it without seeing the title. I kind of get it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I found the post that he made about it, but I can't find the thumbnail or the title specifically.
Hmm.
But I agree. I mean, he did a great job with this. Compositionally, it stands out, and it's definitely to grab your attention. Um, it's different. That's the biggest thing. It's different from everything else that you see on your feed and everything else that your viewers are going to be scrolling through. And if they see something that's different, they're going to stop and take that extra couple seconds to see if it intrigues them. Um, so I don't know who actually came up with this idea, especially for the composition. I don't know if it was Okami or the creator himself, but whoever did, this is a great lesson and a great opportunity to learn and think about your thumbnails just a little bit more, and think about any way that you can change something or any way that you can just get something along that's going to make someone stop and make someone think, and take that extra couple seconds to look at your thumbnail. But I think if I could be really nitpicky, it'd probably just be getting rid of the logo on the shirt.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe trying a different color for the red shirt. I feel like it clashes a little bit with his skin tone and especially the redness on his forehead.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, that's it, really.
Let's go. All right. What else does Akami have? Okami. All right. Next one. So I think this is a AB of the same title, I would assume, because this guy is handcuffed to his phone, feeling like he's probably,
That's not the same person.
it's not.
No.
All right. Well, these were two thumbnails submitted by the same person. They were both submitted by him. So two.
Yeah. But the creator's not the same, so it's not an A/B test.
I don't know, man. I don't know the creator. To me, it could be like a publisher. I don't know. Like if I don't know if it's an actual creator or not. My bad. No disrespect to the creator. I know they are two separate men. I can tell that. I can definitely tell the difference. But yeah, same vibe, right? In terms of like being chained to the phone. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I like this one a lot. I remember seeing this as well on Twitter, but um, I think it's just a good concept, really. Like going back to coming up with good concepts that's going to make people stop and take that extra couple seconds to really see what your video is about and see if it's going to interest them. Um, Again, being nitpicky, but maybe just moving the logos, maybe making them slightly bigger, and moving them more to the top left and more to the top right, just to fill that extra little bit of space. Um, and then again, being super nitpicky, maybe changing the uh, hoodie color to white instead of another color, because
Hmm.
you have a bunch of colors from the Instagram logo, and you have that slight red and blue from the TikTok logo, but actually maybe not, because then you're gonna clash with the chain and the phone and
Yeah, it's a little strange that the flash is on. Maybe I don't know. Gets my attention though. The logos are out of focus a little bit. I don't know if that's on purpose. It looks like it might have been a style choice. I do like the fact that the Instagram logo is putting off a light source onto his shoulder. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, overall, great job.
Yeah.
Okami knows what he's doing.
Okami, let's go. All right, this next one, we have two left. This one is from Jag Deep, and it's when nightmare becomes real. Oh.
So, this one was submitted for our Thumbnails 101 Discord server weekly thumbnail challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
Just
what's your Discord?
little thing for fun.
Shout it out. What's your Discord?
Thumbnails 101. Could probably get a link.
Yeah, we'll drop the link in. So Thumbnails 101. Explain really quick what this thing is you're talking about. You have the submission already. You said that he submitted this for something this week.
Yeah, so we have a weekly thumbnail challenge strictly just for fun. We give all the members a fake prompt. For the most of the time, a fake prompt. Sometimes we've had creators come in and be like, "Hey, I want to see what, I want to see if I can find a thumbnail designer from this." But every week we come to our community. We have how many members? 6,350 members.
Let's go.
In this Discord server. And yeah, we come to them and we're like, "Hey guys, we have a new challenge." And for this one specifically, the title was "When Nightmares Become Real."
Yeah.
And we had 70 submissions for this week.
Cool.
But yeah, we do. I mean, it's a great place to connect with other designers, and we also have a jobs channel where creators can come in and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a thumbnail designer, this specific style, paying this much." We have an inspiration tab and feedback tab and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. I was actually cruising through it the other day. It is one of the most organized Discords I think I've ever been a part of. It's very, very cool. And it's cool to see people giving work to each other and kind of like shouting each other out. So that's a cool platform for sure.
Shout out to Joseph Blaze and Ike for, man, they've helped so much. Like it wouldn't be nearly the same Discord server without them.
Yeah. Awesome. Great squad for sure. So when nightmares become real, did you guys give notes on this one already?
No, we don't do that every week. We choose five winners, and then community chooses another 5 to as honorable mentions.
Okay, cool. I think this is interesting. I feel like what do I feel like? What do I feel about this thumbnail? It's very blue.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I think concept-wise, this is a great idea. Execution-wise, it can be better. The bottom third or almost bottom half of the thumbnail is not needed at all. The nightmare text looks pretty amateur. I would get rid of that fully. The biggest thing I would do, get rid of the nightmare text fully and drag down that whole bottom half and really zoom into the guy. The next thing I would do was be to get rid of the RIP little floating bubble thing there and the phone as well. They're too small of elements to make a difference and to notice. And with those elements, it kind of just, again, adds to the busyness and the mess of an already slightly complex thumbnail. So really punch into the guy. I would have his bottom hand like right at the bottom of the thumbnail, and then the next thing I would do would be to maybe up the exposure a little bit, get rid of the super dark shadows, and then make the hands that are grabbing his face red
Mm.
instead of blue, because it's gonna mix in with everything else. And we kind of want those hands to look like they're some sort of like demonic hands, or scary hands that shouldn't be touching him.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I agree with all that. I think the thing that I was thinking about with this in terms of the amount of different elements, and when I think of like horror movies, because obviously that's the thing my brain goes to the immediately when I think about like a nightmares coming to life. But things to me that are scary, and I think a lot of people are like the subtle small things that are like creepy and weird. Like there's a movie, I can't remember what it was. Somebody's standing up against this like curtain, and it's like a dark curtain, and then this hand slowly comes out and grabs them, and it's one hand. And that one hand, it's in the audience, like at the movie theater, the audience was just like everyone gasped at the same time because it was just like it's insane. But those little things, I think, as people, when we get scared about stuff, it's the things that we can imagine ourselves actually going through. And so seeing like one hand or multiple hands about to grab you and like pull you into your bed, kind of like Freddy Krueger style, I think that is scary enough. And then
Yep.
to Dill's point, you're just focusing on that. So totally agree. Cool idea though.
Yeah. I think, yeah, idea wise, concept wise, great job. Just subtle touching up on the execution. I think also your um, main elements are lacking in quality, just slightly. They look just a little low quality images. Maybe just taking that little bit of extra time to search for higher quality images, or upscaling, like we mentioned before.
Cool. All right. We got one more thumb. This one is from Ninja, and the title is Something is Seriously Wrong with Meta.
Look at your camera.
What happened?
You did a thumbs up in the
Oh,
thumbs up little bubble came.
dude, I do this all the time. It's like a, it's a Mac thing. So it's interesting. Something serious wrong with Meta. Meta is getting cut. Do you think this is AI?
No. No. So yeah, if I were to give my initial thoughts, um overall initial thoughts, this is a great thumbnail.
Yeah, that's sick.
Very focused, very, you know exactly what you're looking at, you know where to look. Um and just overall quality of it is great, the depth of it is great, the shadows, the highlights, the effects, everything. Great job. Um I love how you made the Meta logo look 3D.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Um Again, being nitpicky because this is a great thumbnail, I think there might just be a little too much blue.
Hmm.
Um, so maybe making the background either black or like a dark gray with that subtle gradient coming from the light coming in from the top right, or making it red to really conceive a serious tone, a more serious,
Murderous.
thrilling tone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love this thumbnail. When I saw it come through, I was like, dang, okay, this is like, I've been talking to some people recently about the idea of like not having faces in thumbnails. I think there's obviously people, we've gotten so used to it. But when you don't see a face in a thumbnail, I think oftentimes it's lacking a little bit. But with this, because we know Meta and we know Facebook, we understand Instagram, everything, like that is kind of the personality here. So I love the fact that it doesn't have a face personally. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to roast this one. I thought this one was really sick. I think it was just like a really cool kind of outside of the box concept, and I really liked it. I thought it was just when I saw the thumbnail come through at first without the title, I thought it was like "Is it cake?" video, because the because the meta thumbnails or the meta logo is 3D. But yeah, this is sick. Cool. Well, that is the very last thumbnail that we have to roast. Did we have any questions? Q&A. We're over time now. Just we got some technical difficulties to start us off. I appreciate everyone sticking around as we got that rocking and rolling. But Dill, do you have time to answer a question or two if there are any?
Yeah.
Cool. Does anyone in chat have a question for Dill Toma?
Acidity Chaos said, "What about the paper clips? They stand out to me." Talking about that last thumbnail. This was in the Stream Chat Discord channel. I mean, I didn't think they really made too much of a difference. I guess it could make sense for just to be the rope coming down, but yeah, the paper clips didn't really stand out too much to me, and I think if you're just looking at the thumbnail on a phone-sized screen on YouTube, like, it's not gonna make a difference. But
yeah, I agree. I think I kind of thought that they needed to be there because they were pictures, like Polaroids. But I'm just a dumb guy. Cool. Anybody else? Cool. All good. Well, Dill, how can everyone find you on the internet?
Cool. Dill Toma on basically all social medias, Instagram, Twitter, my website's dilltoma.com. Have a very exciting thing that's going to be announced semi soon, probably within a month or a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then YouTube as well, Dill Toma on YouTube. I need to start uploading some more. I haven't uploaded in about a month or two, but I'm gonna start trying to take that seriously and go with that.
It's tough, dude. It's tough, isn't it? Dude, it's crazy. Like, everyone obviously who's here right now realizes that I started creating content at the end of last year, and like doing that on top of everything else, like having a job and being a content creator, like, dude, it's a lot of work. And I got to say, like, your content, I think it's so cool, knowing you and then seeing how you've evolved into this version of Dill. And then watching your content evolve as well over the few videos that you posted. I think they were all really great. And I loved, like, the last couple that you posted. I'm like, okay, cool. Dill has, like, got the, like, you're finding the voice, you know, and like your delivery and everything. And like the value that you bring to those videos is awesome. And I really appreciate it. It's one thing.
I appreciate that.
Of course, man. I'm honestly trying to figure that out for myself right now, where I'm just like, you know, I think we're getting better for sure. And every video is just like 1%, 5% better. But I think we're in a pretty good groove now. And it's cool to see people kind of like figuring it out. Plus, you're doing this with other people all the time, like as a thumbnail designer. So it's cool to see you on the opposite end, actually being able to provide that value to the community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You talking about the evolution of me and like finding my voice and stuff, I agree with that 100%, because coming into this, like maybe a couple months ago, I would have been nervous and not have been as confident in my sentences and stuff like that. But just coming on here, like, this is a everyday thing, and it's just been very easy to talk and find the confidence in my voice and in my feet in this industry.
Yeah. Well, I think you've been killing it for what it's worth. And it is really, really cool. I appreciate you being here with me today. This is the first one, first of many for sure. Guys, be sure to follow Dill on all of the socials. If you are a creator watching this, hit Dill up for work. He does some of the best thumbnails in the game, without a doubt. If you are a thumbnail designer or content creator looking to work with other creators and thumbnail designers, join his Discord. It's really, really cool. And so obviously we're going to keep doing these things. If you guys want to be a part of these in the future, please join our Discord. There will be a link in the description. Subscribe to my channel, please. You can watch the evolution of me as a content creator. It's been really fun. Honestly, it's one of the things I'm having the most fun doing. It is incredibly hard, but content creation is hard. And I think anybody who does it, you do it because you love it so much. And I've been in this industry for such a long time. So to be actually like participating in this and kind of applying everything that I've ever learned to my own channel has been really fun and a very specific niche. So I appreciate you guys following along with that. And we'll be back next month. I think keep an eye out on our Discord. You can follow me on all the socials as well. It's at Josh Mattingly, where I will be announcing the future workshops. We're going to have people on talking about all sorts of different things behind the scene, or behind the camera rather, when it comes to the operation of YouTube channels and the creator economy. And we'll have more wonderful guests like Dill. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.